Commissioner, Mr. George, thank you for being here this morning. Commissioner, can you tell me how many South Carolinians have been affected or information stolen by the breach?
I cannot tell you that. As I said earlier, we've sent letters to the 104,000 who were not accessed, so anybody in South Carolina should be getting a letter in the next few days. We can go back through and get you that information.
That would be great.
We have not segregated by state at this point.
Thank you very much. Whenever I go throughout South Carolina, my constituents are incredibly concerned about the IRS. They really feel like your agency is the agency that truly has the power of intimidation. So when we hear about breaches, 104,000 folks violated by this breach, my citizens are incredibly excited and passionate and concerned about the activities at the IRS. And it doesn't simply start and end with a breach. It started when we had the conversation last time about groups being targeted because of their religious beliefs or their political doctrine. It flows into the lowest learner emails and the inability to figure out if you have or if you do not have the emails. It continues on down the road as they call during tax season and they're unable to get someone to answer the phone, so they have these courtesy hang-ups. It is consistent as I talk to my constituents that their concerns continue to grow, and this breach will only add more fire to people who are absolutely petrified by the IRS. And now having their information exposed to criminal elements, criminal cartels, is even more disconcerting. I'd love to hear what it is exactly that you are doing in order to secure the IT at the IRS. And then, Mr. George, I have a question for you about the 19 recommendations that were made and only 8 were implemented.
What we're doing is for years now, security has been a high priority for us. We understand, particularly with identity theft, which is based on information stolen elsewhere and then used to file a false return, that's a difficult and traumatic situation for taxpayers. So one of our highest priorities is making sure if that happens to a taxpayer, they get prompt response from us. As I've noted, we work closely with the Inspector General and GAO. We value their recommendations. In some cases, we've actually asked them to take a look at our systems to make sure they aren't breached. As I said, we get pinged, not necessarily attacked, over 1 billion times a year. So we are aware no one at the IRS is under any illusions that we are not at risk. And so we spend as much time and effort and resources as we can focused on that. Anytime we make a change in a system, anytime we make a change in a new application, we look at the security aspects of it. As the Inspector General said, we are balancing off trying to provide better taxpayer service. As you noted, with the resource constraints, we did not answer the phones at anything like the rate we would like to have. We had 23 million transcripts successfully downloaded last year. Those were requests otherwise taxpayers would have had to make either on the phone or in person. So to the extent that we can provide better service to taxpayers, that's a high priority for us. But ultimately, I take your point, we take very seriously, taxpayers have to feel they're going to get treated fairly, no matter who they are, no matter what organization they belong to, no matter who they voted for. And we've done everything we can. We've implemented all of the Inspector General's recommendations on those regards. And I think it is important for taxpayers to know that we take their concerns seriously. They are ultimately our customers. We work for taxpayers. We don't work for anybody else.
Thank you, sir. I will say that from a resourcing standpoint, it appears that during the Obama administration, about $5 billion has been dedicated to the IRS for IT. Under the Bush administration, the number was somewhere around $5.3 billion. So in the last decade or so, over $10 billion for IT. And it just doesn't seem like the type of security that we would anticipate and expect is there. And I'm running out of time, Mr. George. So of the 19 recommendations that were made previously for corrective action, it appeared that only 8 of those 19 were implemented, and perhaps some were closed before they were fully implemented. Can you shed a little light on that for me?
I will in the amount of time that we have left, and I would ask for permission to supplement my response in writing.
Thank you very much.
We've made a number of recommendations, actually a total of 44 recommendations since March of this year, as of March of this year. 18 of those have been security audits that have yet to be recommendations from security audits that have yet to be implemented. 10 of those recommendations come from 5 security audits that were completed during fiscal year 2008 to 2012. So they're very, very dated. And there are a couple of examples of some of the oldest recommendations that we made that we think might have had some bearing on the IRS's ability, if not to stop again.
Can you name just one?
Yeah, oh, certainly. The IRS should require system administrators and their managers to correct user account deficiencies identified during the audit. Managers need to periodically review and validate access to systems, limiting it to people who only have a need to that information.
Mr. George, those do not sound like resource issues. That sounds like a management issue.
Yeah, I agree, sir. I agree there. I agree. And if I may, there's one factoid, sir, that I just think it's important to point out. The $104,000 figure, or 104,000 figure is used a lot. We have to keep in mind, those are the records, the transcripts that were accessed. A lot more people could be affected by that because spouses and dependents of the taxpayer, their information is contained within those reports. So, I mean, at this stage, I, again, cannot give you a definitive number, and I don't believe the commissioner is in a position to do so either, but it's more than 104,000 people, certainly.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, thank you for the time.
Senator Casey?